This is Erin Hobson with Rhinebeck School of Music, and today we're going to learn how to combine minor triads with the minor pentatonic scale. So if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you already know all 5 patterns of your minor pentatonic scale in A, and that you're familiar with minor triad shapes already. And the point of this video is just a basic overview on how to connect those shapes and those patterns to create more melodic playing. I'm going to be moving pretty quickly through everything, and I'm going to be doing a lot of improvisational off-the-cuff demonstrations that I'm not going to tab out, but they're just for you to see the ideas that these patterns lend to me and the things that I think of creatively. And the point is for you to learn these shapes and for you to practice these things and to become more melodic and creative yourself. I'm going to start with this A minor triad on the string grouping of G, B, and E on the bottom 3 strings. So that's another way to play A minor. You have your root here, A, this is your 5th, E, and this is your minor 3rd, C. And as you can see, that lines up really well with that first pattern pentatonic in A. So if I have this, and I have this pentatonic pattern, they go really well together. You've maybe heard licks like, or even, A minor triad and combine it with that first pattern of the pentatonic scale. So now we're going to move on to the second shape of A minor, the next inversion of the chord. So this was first, now we are here in the next placement. So we have this D minor shape that if we played in the open position would be D minor, but now we're playing it up here, and the root is now here where my ring finger is. That's the A, that's the root of the chord. So we have on the 8th fret bottom string the minor 3rd, we have the root, and then we have the 5th there. So that lines up really nicely with that second pattern pentatonic, and you can come up with really melodic lines like these, or so there's a lot you can kind of do within that little triad shape, combining it with that second pattern of the minor pentatonic in A. Moving along, we have the next triad shape, which is actually a root position chord starting with the root here on the 14th fret of the G. This is, maybe you've played this kind of as like a B minor or a C minor triad, and that one, it's a common shape that you can move around. So that lines up really nicely with the 4th pattern of the pentatonic in A there. So you can do all fun stuff like doing these 2 on the bottom, or do them as chords, do them as arpeggios. So it just kind of helps you become a little bit more melodic and outside of the box thinking. So that is just the grouping on the G, B, and E strings. A solo that I usually teach to combine all of those in A is a solo by Buddy Guy, You Don't Know What You're Doing. So it starts like this. You get that second pattern triad. And then you go into that 3rd position in 4. that's really slowed down, I can provide a tab for that in the description with a link to figure that one out. You should listen to it. It's just a good way to kind of be all over the fretboard and combine those shapes. So as always, we're trying to break out of these little box pattern shapes of the pentatonic scale. So an idea for doing that is playing these shapes more horizontally, kind of skipping around. So this would be pattern 1 with this with that minor shape, this minor shape with pattern 2, this minor shape with pattern 4. So if you just, somebody was like playing kind of a blues riff or something, you can kind of combine these shapes horizontally. So a good example of that is Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pride and Joy. The intro is in E. He uses this minor, this E minor triad in E that goes with that 4th pattern pentatonic. So, you know, that's one example. You could do these on the next string groupings too, you know, if somebody was like going from pattern 2 into pattern 1, you have pattern 4. You kind of skip around the fretboard a little bit, matching these shapes as opposed to just thinking as them as like, you know, this pattern in these separate places. So I hope that opens up your creativity a little more. When I started making this video, I realized that there's just a lot of content if I keep continuing with these string groupings. And these are probably the most practical that you're going to be using. They're the most common. But I am going to go on to the other string groupings, the lower string groupings. And they're a little darker, probably a little less used. But it was just too much content to put into one video. So this concludes part 1. We're going to do part 2.